Trudy, I understand you are the queen of rock bottom. Do I have that correct?
You do, sir.
Okay. And when you're speaking of rock bottom, you're speaking of rock bottom business-wise primarily. Do I have that right?
Honestly, for me, it's life-wise. um, when I tend to really get it together, I mean, my first, not my first, but one of the big major rock bottoms was several years ago when my ex-husband left me. My house was foreclosed on, the cat ran away, the car blew up. I was a bad country song. And you would not believe what I created in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
Put me at rock bottom and I can make things happen. Business-wise, I've been in bad shape. Literally, your timing's very interesting because today I started going through my Facebook page, removing everything that was related to my business. It's something I've loved. I trained in EFT. I want to work with women and help them embrace who they are as women. It's a long story. We'll go into that another time. And I just finally went, you know what? I want a day off. I've tried this for so long, and I put my heart and soul into it. And I believe so strongly in it. But I just can't do it anymore. I'm tired.
You can't do an EFT business anymore or business period?
But you know what? It's so much easier just to go to work for 8 hours, know that I have a paycheck, and you know what? Accept that that's what it is.
Okay.
I've hit that point. The EFT is what I choose to do, so I guess if we're going to say I can't do an EFT business, it's probably, that's probably the case. But realistically, I've been trying to create a business for 5 years. I'm exhausted.
Okay.
I am. You hit me, you found me at rock bottom.
Okay, but you're not rock bottom in the sense that you have no source of income because you do have a day job, so to speak.
Yes.
Okay.
At this point, it's not real stable, but it's there.
Okay. And are you married?
No.
Oh, okay.
I haven't had a solid date in 5 years.
I see. Okay. Another part of rock bottom, right?
That's a whole another story in itself, I
All right.
think. But yeah, it's a point where I'm actually starting to put my toe in the water.
Okay. Well, what I'd like to do here, because a lot of people listening in have a business
Hmm.
scenario similar to yours, and that
Right.
is to get their business going, to get business in the door, to get it launched, to get it successful, even though you have great, enthusiastic, ambitious ideas, they don't seem to come to fruition. I have that essentially right.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, in my opinion, I have amazing ideas. Everyone tells me how great the concept is and how much they want to be a part of it, and then I can't even give away a free teleconference.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So it would be my view of that. It would be my speculation that there's nobody really holding you back. Nobody has tied you to a bed, so to speak, and put ropes around you so you can't move, and put a gag in your mouth and all of that, so you can't physically do it.
Right.
The blockage is emotional.
It has to be.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what
Okay.
else it would be.
Well, it's almost obvious, but I thought I'd
Right.
embellish it
Yes.
some for this purpose. Okay. So what we want to explore is what the core issues might be, and that's where we can address EFT and try to get those out of the way. Okay, get those out of the way, and then some of these things that just seem to block you, like you can't even give away a free teleconference,
Right.
seat, so to speak, um, would not have that barrier in the way. Okay, so we want to look for the barrier. Okay, now you and I had a phone conversation prior to this video we're doing,
Right.
um, and you'd also sent me an email. We were talking about your past, starting as early teens. You were uh, physically abused. You were sexually abused for, like, was it 3 years?
The sexual abuse went on for 3 years. Yes.
And then you had marriages, which also tended to be abusive.
Yes. One was physically abusive. The other one I didn't even realize it was emotionally abusive, and it took me 3 years out of the marriage to see it.
Yeah.
It,
Okay.
it was it was quite a frightening wake up call today. I actually recognized what it was.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is a rather obvious speculation to begin with, that somehow or other linked to whatever self-image comes out of someone who's been physically and emotionally and sexually abused at young ages is is linked to the fact that you're having problems blossoming, if you will, in the business world.
Yes, I have a tendency to not feel like it can work for everybody but me,
Yeah.
and that's kind of where I get jammed.
Yeah, of course, of course. So when I say blossoming in the business world, in your case, it's blossoming anywhere.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be pretty accurate.
Okay.
It's safer to stay where I am. You know, if I'm to be incredibly honest, it's safer to stay in this place of never quite reaching what I'm reaching for than it is to risk losing it.
Okay. All right. Interesting word, safe. Um, so, if safety is involved, we're just going to go there for the moment. What would be the consequence? What would be the penalty if you were to really blossom financially?
Oh, I've thought about that a lot, and I'm not sure. I have some thoughts where it's like, well, other people want it, but that's really not a big deal because I like to I like to share what I have. That's kind of who I am. It's like I'm going to be put out there, and what if I'm not? What if I'm not good enough?
Yeah, of course. And if you've been sexually abused and emotionally abused, and husbands, I am presuming, have told you how you are not good enough in a variety of ways.
Oh yeah.
Not only not good enough, probably less than dirt. Would I be right?
Yeah.
Okay. And if we have been, this is again my speculation, but we're exploring, all right?
Yes, absolutely.
If we have been sexually abused at young ages, a likely conclusion from that for a young girl is, I'm lower than dirt. I am disrespected. I don't count. I'm only loved for my body. I'm just saying these things. I don't know if they're landing or not, but you tell me.
Actually, what it does is it brings up a little bit. I have a history that someday I'm going to sit down and write a book, and it's going to be sold as a novel, I'm sure of it. I was abandoned at 8 months old by my mother on pretty much on my grandparents' doorstep. She showed back up when I was 4, and that's where I had this perfect little life from 8 months old to 4. My mother is not well. You taught me very well. Sometimes people do the best that they know how, and I've accepted that, and I know that was the best she could do. But from 4 on to 16, I was never good enough. I was called some pretty horrific names. I was basically told at one time she wished abortions had been legal when she got pregnant for me.
Of course.
So I've never thrived. I've always stayed average is safe. Average is okay because nobody's going to tell me that I'm bad or wrong.
Yeah, but if you expose yourself and you get up there and you get known and all of that, somebody's going to start throwing stones at you, and you don't like that feeling. Do I have it right?
No, you definitely have it right.
And I'd speculate still further, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to put words, in your head or your mouth or anything. Okay, we're just exploring. But I'm subconsciously, you will do anything to avoid that feeling again.
Oh yes. Oh
okay.
Yes.
Okay. So therein, we have a huge motivation never to do very well in business, or to blossom wherever. But we're focusing on business here. Okay.
Right. Absolutely.
Because if you do, big penalty.
Yes.
Okay. But now what we have to do is explore this penalty somehow. Okay. And so I want to get to one of my favorite little pieces here and ask you, is it logical that if you do well business-wise, let's say, and you flourish. You write the novel and it becomes a bestseller, okay? Or you have an EFT practice with people lined up around the block, all right? Is it logical that people are really going to say, oh, you are no good, you are less than dirt, and so on?
You know, logically, there might be some, but I probably won't be able to hear them. So I guess it wouldn't matter that much.
Okay. Well, let me ask you logically, let's put it a little differently. Logically, would you deserve that kind of criticism?
No.
Logically, do you deserve it now?
No.
Okay, but I want to get to a really important point here. Emotionally, it feels that way. I got that.
Right.
So your emotion, if your emotional response is, God, don't go there, because it's going to get me again, and I'll do anything to avoid that.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay, but logically, I have a word for it. Yeah. but we're making a little bit of fun of it. But
right.
we do need to draw the distinction here between your emotional response and what is truly logical.
Right.
Okay? So, logically, do you deserve all that criticism?
No, I don't.
Okay. You don't deserve it, if I understand our previous conversation, you don't deserve it now, and you wouldn't deserve it if you flourished somehow.
Right.
Okay. It is a leftover emotional response from all the conditioning from your early years.
You know, honestly, probably conditioning from both early years and even up till about 5 years ago.
Having to do
okay. Probably until I found EFT.
All right, because you've used EFT and you have, as you told me before this session started, you used it to help yourself along the way.
Yes, I have.
My term would be to take the edge off of a lot of things.
Yes,
okay.
That's a good way to put it, to take the edge off.
Okay. So, when you're addressing this with EFT, tell me how you do it. So tell me this way, you would say, even though I what?
Okay, on this one, I think I'd say even though I'm scared as hell, because that's, at the end of it, I think is what it comes down to, is I am scared.
Yeah, of course. Of course. All right. I'm going to have you say something for me, then we're going to back up and do something else, okay?
Okay.
You've already said it, but I want to do it with some specificity here. I want you to say that in a minute, say the term I am scared. Don't say it yet, but in a minute say it. And when you do, plug in to your own, not logic,
right,
to your own emotional feeling about it. And rate it on a scale of 0 to 10 about how true it is. 10 is, my God, there can't be anything truer in the world. And 0 is, nothing. Okay? So go ahead, say, I am scared.
I am scared. I'm going to put it at about an 8.
At about an 8. Okay, I would have guessed
Yeah.
higher, but that's okay. 8. We're going to use that as a benchmark.
You may be better.
No?
This is one of the things that I've had issue with, is actually calculating where my emotions are in the moment.
Most people have a difficulty. It's not an exact scale. So all we do is we have you choose the 8, okay?
Okay.
And that's going to be a benchmark to look at later on, okay? Because we're going to do a few things, maybe that will bring that down, okay?
Okay.
But now let's back up here a second. I am scared is not the way to do EFT efficiently.
Right.
Efficiently, because it is too global. It is too broad, okay? We are scared, you are scared, for reasons. And it's the reasons we want to get to. See, I am scared now becomes the symptom. You are scared because of, my term, specific events in your past. If you hadn't had these specific events, which gave you all these emotional thuds, that told you that you were less than dirt, my term, and all these other negative things about you, how you don't deserve anything, and so on and so forth, and all that conditioning. Um, uh, those specific events give rise to those feelings, and so now you are scared because you don't want to have those feelings show up again. Am I on target?
Yes. Yes.
Well, move the target someplace if you think it's worth moving. I mean, because I need feedback.
Okay.
It,
Yeah, no, I think you're right. As you're talking, the thing that keeps coming up is what am I scared of, and I'm an English major. I can tell by the way I'm talking. What am I afraid of? I am really afraid that I'm just not even that I'm not good enough, but on top of it, I'm a fraud. People are going to feel like I've scammed them. No matter where it came from my heart, that's going to be the way it's going to be perceived, is that I've scammed them.
yes, that is an emotional response, not a logical one. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Logically, are you scamming them?
Not at all.
If you do EFT with them, are you scamming them?
No.
If you
No,
write
not at all.
if you write your novel and they pay $10 or $20 for your book, are you scamming them?
No.
Okay. Logically, you're not scamming, but emotionally, it feels that way because you are, to use your earlier phrase, not good enough.
Yeah.
You are and that causes you to emotionally come up with, I'm a fraud.
Maybe part of what will help you is I have trained in EFT. I trained actually here in the Twin Cities back in April of 2011. I never went about to get my absolute certification because I wanted to work within my own boundaries. And now it's like, what if they find out I'm not certified?
Okay.
And then they're going to think I'm this and I'm not good enough. And I've watched your videos time and time and time again where you say it's not that important. But in that moment it is.
I know. Logically now, you realize, of course, I'm not certified.
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. All right. All right. So, okay. But we are by now, clearly drawing a distinction between your emotional response, which comes about from
Right.
all this conditioning and from very understandable sources, albeit a fiction logically.
Yes.
So, what we want to do is deal with the emotional stuff. See, if you were to tell me that logically you were a fraud, and logically you're not good enough, and logically all these things, then we got a different thing to go after. But that's not the case here. You know otherwise at some level.
Yes.
It's the emotional response we have to get to. Okay. Now, what we want to do is get to specific events that tell you you are not good enough. You are a bad person. You are lower than low. So I just got you right there. Let's take the edge out here. Tap with me. Tap with me. Even though I feel lower than low.
Even though I feel lower than low.
And I know it's not logical.
And I know it's not logical.
I'm convinced it's not logical.
I'm sorry?
I'm convinced it's not logical.
I am convinced it's not logical.
All right. Change my words if you need to, okay?
They're fine so far.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Emotionally, I think I'm up here. Up here. Emotionally, I think I'm a fraud.
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 That thought about being a fraud.
That thought of being a fraud.
It's fraudulent.
It's fraudulent.
Emotionally, I think I'm a fraud.
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 Keep going. Keep going.
Okay.
Emotionally, I think I'm a fraud.
I think I'm a fraud.
Okay. Yeah. Emotionally, I think I'm a fraud.
Emotionally, I think. No, I don't.
Okay. Emotionally, you do. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of.
Well,
I think it's shifting a little bit to where it's more like other people think excuse me, I have to grab a tissue, but it's like other people think I'm a fraud. I don't necessarily think I am, but maybe they will.
Okay, well, maybe they will. And here, emotionally, I think I'm a fraud.
Emotionally, I think I'm a fraud.
All right. Well, I don't see the tears now.
Yeah.
And that's a clue that we've taken the edge off at least. Okay.
Yes.
But let's go back to my question. I'd like to have you find someplace in your past a specific event that shows up, one of the glowing ones. That says, "Oh God," that might be contributing to this. Do you have it?
I do.
Okay. Now, we're in the public eye at the moment. We need not go into all the details if you don't want to. We can keep it private. Would you like to do that?
I can give some basic facts.
Well, what I want to do is for the moment address it privately.
Okay.
And then other facts can come out later on to the extent you're comfortable.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if this specific event was a movie, how long would the movie last?
Probably about 20 minutes.
About 20 minutes. Okay. What I'm looking for, though, isn't the 20 minutes. Within that 20 minutes, there must be some emotional, one or more, crescendos, some peaks, if you will. Would I be correct in that?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Is there 1, 2, 5, what?
One in particular.
Okay. That's the one we want. We want the one that might last, what, a second or 2 or 3 or 5?
No more than 5.
No more than 5. Okay. So we've got a sharp crescendo, an emotional thud of some kind.
Yes.
Am I right? Okay. Now, if this crescendo was a little movie all by itself,
right.
What title would you give the movie?
The U-Haul.
The U-Haul. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So, I can already guess that if you really drug yourself through this and vividly imagine it, you get yourself to a 10 pretty quickly. Would I be right?
I'm pretty close now.
Yeah, okay. So we need not do that. So we're going to assume it's a 10. All right?
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Now, just tap with me. Okay. Even though I have this U-Haul crescendo.
Even though I have this U-Haul crescendo.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
It's very simple. This U-Haul crescendo.
This U-Haul crescendo.
This U-Haul crescendo.
This U-Haul crescendo.
Keep going.
This U-Haul crescendo. This U-Haul crescendo. This U-Haul crescendo. This U-Haul crescendo. Okay, we're not going to it down. This U-Haul crescendo. This U-Haul crescendo.
All right. I'm just presuming it didn't come down very much.
Not a lot, but it went from a movie to a cartoon in my mind.
Well,
so that was kind of interesting. I've never had that happen before.
Well, I think I've heard it before, but it's a fairly new one to me too, But let's do another round. Well, let me ask you this. Has your emotion about this U-Haul crescendo shifted? First of all, let me ask you this. Your original emotion, was it fear, anger, guilt? What was it?
It was pain, hurt, a lot of hurt.
Emotional hurt? Physical?
Yes.
Emotional hurt. Okay. And is it still an emotional hurt?
Maybe a little bit, but probably not in the same. I don't know how to explain it exactly. I'm sorry if I'm not making sense. It's like it's there, but it's more. It hurts to think about, but not that it happened anymore. Does that make any sense?
Well, okay. Yeah, but what you're telling me is we did something in that first round with it because the nature of it has shifted in some fashion.
Yeah, there's a loss to it, and that's sad.
Okay.
But it doesn't. When we started this, I felt like I'd been hit in the chest, and that's I can at least breathe a little more.
Okay. One more round. Even though I still have some of this U-Haul crescendo,
Even though I still have some of this U-Haul crescendo,
hurt and pain,
hurt and pain,
I deeply, completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Remaining U-Haul crescendo, hurt and pain.
Remaining crescendo U-Haul. Oh, I got that way wrong. Hurt and pain. Remaining crescendo U-Haul, hurt and pain. Remaining crescendo U-Haul, hurt and pain. Remaining crescendo U-Haul, hurt and pain. It's almost like I can't remember the words. Remaining crescendo U-Haul, hurt and pain. Remaining crescendo U-Haul, hurt and pain. Remaining crescendo U-Haul, hurt and pain. Remaining crescendo U-Haul. It's getting kind of funny. Hurt and pain. I know what I'm supposed to be saying, but it's almost like I can't keep the words in my head.
Okay. Because there's emotional static going on?
No, it's almost like, what are you doing with that? I'm bored, I guess is the better way to put it. I'm like, really? Why am I wasting time on this?
Well, that's a good sign from my point of view. Okay.
Yes, it was definitely not an insult.
Okay, but what we want to do is test that for the moment. So,
Okay.
what I'd like to have you do, and give you directions, is to, in a moment, close your eyes and run that movie and tell me what you get to on a scale of 0 to 10. Go ahead.
Okay. There is, and it's a different piece of it. On the original portion, it's almost humorous. I would take that down to probably a 0. There's another piece of it that's still at about a 3.
Oh, aren't you delightful, because you just illustrated for our audience switching aspects. Did you not? I mean, am I hearing another aspect?
I absolutely, from what I've learned, that's absolutely what I did.
Okay.
And, I'm a whole lot better doing this with other people than I am with myself.
Well, you're not the only one to say that, okay? So,
okay, good.
All right, so the other aspect is that, does it have a crescendo?
I don't know that that's necessarily ended.
It's so you switched over to something which may be ongoing.
To a degree, it's not rational. I'll tell you that at this point in time in my life, that piece of it, which had to do with another person, has shifted. So it's no longer a factor, but that piece of it still hurts.
Okay. Now, I'm still going in the dark here, okay? And that's okay.
Right.
That's okay. That's okay. But what we're talking about here is something that is sort of ongoing-ish. I would imagine that this ongoing-ish thing is also contributed to by something in the past.
Yes.
Okay. So here, let's do this. Say this for me and tell me emotionally how true it feels to you, okay?
Okay.
I am scared. Say it.
I am scared. I can't quite connect with it. I can't quite feel
Well,
it.
it was an 8, so by comparison, is it a 0?
Because I can't even convince myself that's true. So
Well,
yeah, I'd say it's at a 0.
Okay. Now, I don't believe you. Well, I'm not calling you a liar, okay? So
Right, I understand.
let me tell you why I say that. Oftentimes we'll do EFT and we take care of something so well in the short run that people can't get in touch with the real picture. Okay?
Right.
My guess is that tomorrow when you wake up and you try to blossom someplace, you're still going to be scared to some degree because we have way too many things in the background, way too many things to have them all just go away because of one specific event.
I agree.
Now,
I agree.
however, it can happen. I've seen it before, but it's not the kind of thing we rely upon. Okay, but
Right.
this is where when we get to EFT, we don't just the client just doesn't say, oh well, I feel better now, and then we just walk away. Because it's not real in many cases. Okay, so what I'd like to do here is give you kind of a launching pad and a place to go. Okay,
Okay.
what we just did was a specific event that had, and we've reduced it down to a crescendo. The more specific you get, the better. Okay? And we got to that to the point where that specific event, at least for now, you can't get worked up about it all. It is a
No.
zero. You shift it off to something else related, another
Right.
aspect, okay? And that is something else to deal on, to reduce down to something very specific, specific emotional crescendos, okay? Tap, 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 as you as you're able to do, and then go back into your life, and you must have a zillion, well, maybe not a zillion, but a lot of specific events with crescendos. If you were sexually abused in particular, there must be lots of those where you're confused, you're feeling so down, you're so nothing, and so on. And that's the likely thing. Take each one of those and start using it down to a specific event. Not, oh, I was abused for 3 years. That's way too global.
Right.
The time I was in the living room with Uncle George, and he put his hand on me, and I was scared, and off we went. Okay, now we're getting down to something very specific.
Right.
Okay, and even get more specific still, the smells, the feeling of the penetration. Now this is getting right down to where the bare metal is. Okay?
Right.
But you want to do that because if you get down there and you collapse those, then you've really done the job thoroughly. Now, you don't have to do 100 of those or 1,000 or however many may be. Do you recall what we call the generalization effect?
It rings a bell, but
Okay.
at the moment, it's not sitting there for me.
Very important here. The generalization effect basically does this. Since the abuses you've had, and I'm going to carve out the sexual abuses for the moment, okay,
Right.
had the same people in them, the same general locations, the same environment, if you will. After you do 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of them really well, or 5, something like that, there's such a commonality among all the rest of them that they fall as well. So do a handful really well, and then all the stings from that, not that you won't forget them, but all the stuff that says to you, I'm garbage, it won't be there anymore. The memory, yes. Will it be your favorite dinner topic? No. But will the sting be there that is limiting you in your life? It comes down. Okay. So a few can take care of 100. That's the point.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I know that as a tabletop. So yes, I do.
Okay.
I do understand what you're talking about now.
Right. Okay. And so that would be the tabletop. The table legs are all the specific events that hold up
Right.
the tabletop.
Right.
Okay. And then you go to the other areas of your life. You know, I would stay in childhood for a while, of course,
Right.
because there's a lot of foundational stuff there. But then once you've done that, then you start going to, as you get older in marriages and things like that, chances are by the time you get there, you won't need to do anything
Right.
because you will have collapsed the foundation to all of it. And gradually, this bit about I'm scared, the illogical I'm scared, the emotional but not logical I'm scared, will start to fade, and then you can start blossoming because you're not weighed down by that ballast.